fascinating that even after having a downslide or on issues like Doklam and all, India and China have this communications line on. They at least work on confidence building measures. There is some sort of a communication which try and re-establish the talks and all. Right. Where do you see the exploration of soft powers? Just as Ambassador Sajanhar said that we don't know much about each other. So does soft powers or exploration on that facet gives leverage to both the countries to develop ties further? Right. You've just been to China, just to add, you've just been to China.
Yeah, I had been to China recently, and they took us to, Qizhou province, and there is a Guiyang city where they are, establishing big data industry. And they have a collaboration and they have signed some MOU with our NIIT in Bangalore. So they are trying to project themselves as they want to take advantage of Indian expertise in information technology. Though we had been telling for a long time that please take our soft power advantage, but they were not agreeing. But now I think they are trying to realize that we have to have certain level of engagement with India on trade and commerce front also. So in that way they went to Bangalore and they are trying to invite and engage our software professionals in Qizhou. But given that fact that India has always been realistic about China, and Doklam has been one of the examples that how realistic Prime Minister Modi was when Doklam stand up. It was a issue of major decision and he decided to go whatever it takes. And then China also realized that India is not that India that they did earlier. So now China realizes that India is engaging not with Russia, but India is also expanding its, and if we have good relation with USA, China also feels that yes, we have to be restrained. And so China is trying to project itself that it wants to be closer to India in soft power. But what I get from Indian side that we want to walk the talk. Mm-hmm. Please show us something that we can feel and Indian people feel that yes, you are trying to do something with India so that people can also understand that there is a goodwill. But China has not shown anything till now. There are talks about basmati, non-basmati rice. There are talks about pharma industry collaboration. There are talks about IT industry. But they have to show us in a big way that yes, you are willing to engage with us in that way. Otherwise, I think it will be based on realities.
Pastor Dayal, as just Akhilesh mentioned that China is realizing that this is new India. This is not the one which they possibly engaged earlier. So this government's policy vis-a-vis China, where do you see going long term in building better relations?
Well, as our Prime Minister said in his interview, India wants excellent relations with all our neighbors. Right. And as Ambassador Sajanhar said, the possibilities for Indo-Chinese trade to blossom are immense. And he rightly said that for the first time, bilateral trade has crossed $80 billion. It now is around $84 billion. But the Chinese somehow are not helpful when it comes to allowing us to increase our exports. Ambassador Sajanhar pointed out that the balance of trade is something like $63 billion in their favor. Now, the most important exports from our point of view to China are pharmaceuticals and software exports, and China is severely restricting these. It places all kinds of restrictions which do not allow our companies to export pharmaceutical products and their software products to China. China has shown a degree of sensitivity to our concerns, but it has not gone along towards alleviating them. It has adopted a similar approach on other issues also. For instance, it has gone full steam ahead with the China-Pakistan economic corridor, despite our protests that it passes through disputed territory, in territory which actually belongs to India and was forcibly occupied by Pakistan. It has shown scant regard for anything that we have been pointing out in terms of Chinese assistance to Pakistan in strengthening the military capability. China is Pakistan's biggest arms supplier. Right. In fact, today's papers mention that it is going to build 4 warships for Pakistan. And against whom are these warships going to be used? They're going to be used against India. So we have been at pains to point out to the Chinese that by strengthening Pakistan's military capabilities, it is allowing Pakistan to become more hostile towards us.
Right.
But both China and Pakistan have referred to each other as their all-weather friend. And that friendship, to a great extent, comes at our cost.
Right.
So while I agree that the possibilities of developing an all-round relationship with China are immense, but the Chinese have to show sensitivities towards our concern.
Right.
They have not been doing so till now.
Ambassador Sachin, India has a clear vision and one could say ambition as well to be a regional superpower, and more so in the Indian Ocean region. Now, at the same time, we see China also spreading its tentacles over there. So, and parallel to that, China's ties with Pakistan. How does India balance this fragile equation and at the same time maintain or rather improve ties with China?
You know, India has always had, as far as Indian Ocean is concerned, it has been the sphere of influence as far as India is concerned. It is China which is a new entrant. China has never been present here. So I think it is the entry of China which is really creating some disruption as far as Indian Ocean is concerned. Now, it is very clear, what China has done in South China Sea, that irrespective of the fact that the decision by the International Court of Justice, by the Permanent Court of Arbitration in July 2016 went against China, but it has occupied about 90% of South China Sea. So it is coming here into the Indian Ocean and it is getting, let us say, outposts, whether it is in Myanmar or it is in Sri Lanka, Hambantota, or it is in Maldives. Gwadar is, of course, there with it, also in Djibouti. So it's, what was earlier termed also as the string of pearls around India, and also expanding its presence as far as Indian Ocean is concerned. Now, for India to maintain, to ensure that there is peace, there is security, India might not be able to do it entirely on its own in terms of creating a balance as far as China is concerned. So I think in that context, its collaboration, partnership, whether it is with the United States, whether it is with Japan. So we have seen a number of initiatives, whether it is on the context of the Indo-Pacific discussions that have been going on. Recently in Buenos Aires, there was the trilateral meeting, what Prime Minister Modi termed it as JAY, Japan, America, India, all three countries coming together and seeing how to ensure that how China's rise is balanced in that sense.
Right.
And also we have had some meetings at junior official levels of the Quad, that is US, Japan, India and Australia. And I think there also to develop the concept of Indo-Pacific so that it is free, it is open, it is inclusive and it is prosperous. That is what Prime Minister Modi also mentioned in his address at the Shangri-La Dialogue. And this is how India wants to take it forward, that there is peace, security and stability that is maintained in the Indian Ocean.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen. We have to wrap it up here. Thanks all of you for joining us. So clearly, India is quite clear in the foreign policy that it wants better ties with its neighbors and more so with China and Pakistan. It's time now that both these countries walk the talk. Thank you for watching.